A'udzubillahi minasyaitonirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And a very pleasant day I bid to our esteemed professor, Professor Mahmoud, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Fasiha. I am a first year PhD student taking the ENGL 8511 Islamization of English Studies course in semester 1, 2025-2026. Before I start my presentation, I would like to say Salam Sejahtera, Daijahau, and Vanakkam. If that is any indication to what my talk is going to be about today, my presentation is on multilingualism, many languages, one truth. I'm going to first talk about going into the local context, which is the country Malaysia. Just a brief history on how Malaysia have come about to become this culturally rich country. First instance, I believe, was during the British colonization, when the British have elaborately brought in laborers, Chinese and Indian laborers to be specific, into Malaya at the time, in an elaborate effort to boost the country's economy, where they have the Chinese laborers working tin mines and the Indian laborers working rubber plantations. So as a direct effect of this move by the British, Malaysia have been living with a culturally rich background ever since. We have been living together in harmony and peace for centuries and have given rise to a modern Malaysia since our independence in 1957. And I think I speak for average Malaysians, where it is not uncommon for us to hear different languages being spoken on the streets every day of our lives, actually. This goes beyond the simple greetings, as I have demonstrated just now, where the Malays would have said Salam Sejahtera, the Chinese would have said Daijahau, and the Vanakkam is in Tamil, where if you want to greet someone, that is just a simple and little examples of how these different cultures translates into the lives of us Malaysians in a local context. Beyond these greetings, languages have gone through layers of our lives, going where we can see different languages being used in TV shows, in radio shows, which is a daily occurrence, even in our educational system, our national educational system, where we have vernacular schools, where it is available for any Malaysians to enroll into, and also in the in the national mainstream schools, where they offer elective language courses. You have the language subjects that you can take apart from the obligatory Bahasa Melayu and English at schools. So this diverse linguistic background that Malaysia is now today have, I believe, is being appreciated, where Malaysia has been recognized as this melting pot of a diverse culture and racially rich country. But I also believe that this does not only happen in Malaysia. It is pretty much everywhere else around the world as well, because even among those with different abilities, like people using sign language, this variant of language also have many wide variety among them, like the American Sign Language. Some countries have specific sign language for only their country. So that is another variant of a language. So this variety of languages are crucial to coexist in ensuring the continuity of the human race itself, because language is the very medium that we use to communicate with every day. So be it in the early days of human history until this day and age, we will definitely see the interaction of more than one language on a daily basis. So as its name suggests, multilingualism, it goes beyond geographical boundaries, and it has been a common factor as well in the Muslim world as it would others. So going into a bigger context, seeing how in a World Population Report 2024, it is reported Muslims makes up roughly 24% of the world of the global population. So that means that 2 billion of us Muslims are all over the world, scattered, and definitely we speak different languages because we are in different parts of the world. So this is our heritage from the scholars and the prophets before us, and we are situated in various corners of the world, which gives rise to this concept of multilingualism, where we use languages to share with each other of our different cultures, and also to disseminate knowledge, as in translation, when there's one information in other language, like from the scholars before us, and they have materials in Arabic that will be translated to other languages. So the role of multilingualism in the Muslim world is actually undeniable and unstoppable. So the question is here, how can the Muslim community engage with these global languages, especially like English, being one of the biggest global language out there today, without compromising the integrity of Islamic knowledge and identity? As it was discussed in previous classes with Prof. Mahmoud, so because of this Western colonization on the Muslim world, because it doesn't just happen in Malaysia, it happens across most if not all Muslim countries, the effects of Western culture have trickled down through generations up until today. So without the application of Islamization of self first and foremost, the misuse of knowledge itself is inevitable. This applies to the topic that I'm talking about, which is multilingualism, because an example of the misuse of language, of the language transfer, the sharing of language between different cultures, one example of the misuse of it is the concept of brain rot. For your information, in 2024, Oxford University Press have announced that the word brain rot is the word of the year, is the Oxford word of the year of 2024. What is the meaning of brain rot? It is actually defined as the supposed deterioration of a person's mental or intellectual state, especially viewed as the result of overconsumption of material, now particularly is the online content, considered to be trivial or unchallenging. Just imagine the very word being voted as the most popular word of 2024 is the very word that means the brain is not thinking critically. It is unchallenging, like what the definition I've just said. So an example of this, how multilingualism plays into this brain rot, is one of the example of the brain rot is skibidi. Skibidi is a term, it's actually a nonsensical term. It's an internet term being popularized by YouTube videos. Again, it has no meaning. It it has eventually been used as a slang for something silly, cool, or bad, but without a substantial origin of the word. Another example is there are terms like Italian brain rots, where there are this Italian language being used, Italian words actually being used as a brain rot, where the youngsters would share these words among them far and wide. So, as you can see, multilingualism is also at stake, being this victim of secularization, globalization, internationalization, if it's not embedded with Islamic values. So these current examples of colonized minds being affected by Western cultures are not just happening now. It has happened before. It has happened since the 1900s, where the influx of young Muslim scholars are being sent to the Western universities, where they learn about modern knowledge in Western language, and ultimately being exposed to their cultures as well. So this has given threat to our community since the very beginning of knowledge sharing, which has led to the Union of Modern Muslim Scholars to address this entrenched issue. So Ismail Raji Al-Faruqi says that the concept of Islamization of knowledge is actually a project or an effort to restore the Ummah's health because of this malaise, because of this disease is sickening the Muslim community. And Islamization of knowledge is one of the ways to give rise to responsible world leadership, for Muslims to take charge again, not to be influenced by Western cultures anymore, and ultimately seek the blessings and the Tawhid nature of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the goal of Islamization of knowledge encompasses every discipline, which is to revise, to rebuild these disciplines, including multilingualism, based on a new Islamic base, and to assign the Islamic principles in every discipline, including multilingualism. So understanding multilingualism and the practice of it, we have to move beyond just looking at linguistic studies, because we have to incorporate theology, history, and also political aspects into it. So in 2025, Bart, Barnawi, and Ahmad have termed this approach as the socio-linguistics of Islam, which transcends geographical boundaries and linking language use to the Islamic heritage. So following that, in better understanding the concept of multilingualism, on how it can be better applied as a Muslim, we have to understand the very foundation of the concept of multilingualism itself. So what better way to discuss it than the divine origin of language itself, where we understood language is a divine gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is one of the faculties of humans that Allah have bestowed upon humans, actually, the faculty of speech. So in previous class with Prof. Mahmoud, we have discussed about the story of Allah teaching Adam and it is regarding the virtue of Adam over the angels actually. So in Surah Al-Baqarah verse 31, which translates to, he taught Adam all the names of things, and he showed them to the angels and asked, tell me the names of these if you truly think you can. So the angels said they don't know, but Adam did. So this shows that Allah has given humans with creativity in the knowledge that Allah has bestowed upon humans. So from all the names, the translated verse of all the names that Allah taught Adam, that in itself establishes the divine source of language and knowledge where Allah has bestowed upon humans. So this concept is a point of linguistic study, crucial to Islamic values, and is a very important as a foundation to the discipline of linguistics from an Islamic perspective. Because to establish the theology of linguistic diversity, the Quran itself has shown linguistic diversity as a sign of God's power and wisdom, which is it is a blessing. Any knowledge that Allah has given us is a good knowledge. Whether the knowledge is being used in good or bad is up to the humans. So we have to use it wisely by understanding, by appreciating how the knowledge should be used in the correct way. So the Quranic verse that has said regarding this linguistic diversity is actually in Surah Ar-Rum verse 22, where Allah has said, and of his signs is the creation of the heavens and earth and the variety of your tongues and hues. Surely in that are signs for all living beings. So if Allah has said it, Allah has the power of saying kun fayakun. What he says happens, then it will happen. So Allah has a will to have created a human with just one nation, but he did it. Allah has created humans in diversity. Allah has created humans with diverse nations instead of just one, because it is as a test for the human race. From the gift that Allah has given us, the capacity to think, the freedom to think, rather than from what the Quranic verse regarding the angels just now. So we have been given the capacity and the freedom to think creatively, to use whatever we will, however we will, whatever we want with it. So by creating these diverse nations is actually a test for what has been given to us. So the principle of divine communication is that Allah has sent every messenger with the tongue of his people, that he might make all clear to them, which is another Quranic verse in Surah Ibrahim verse 4, which means that every messenger that has been sent, every prophet that has been sent to their people is with their own language. Not every prophet has spoken the same language. So that is the basic of divine communication, where multilingualism exists at the very foundation of the propagation of Allah's message throughout the time. Muslim civilization have historically celebrated the culture of multilingualism as it has been practiced by our prophets, like what I have been explaining just now, where every prophet has different languages to speak to their people. So Muslim civilization following our prophets have celebrated this culture of multilingualism and the culture of polyglot, which means many languages. Like one person can speak many languages, so they are called polyglot. So by learning these various languages, foreign languages other than our own language, it has brought forth a massive translation efforts, especially because from the previous Islamic scholars, how their work has been recognized by the modern Muslim and non-Muslim scholars is through the work of translation. So that is the actual recognition of usage, of multilingual usage in a community. So it is common, multilingualism is common even among influential figures. So one of the example is Al-Biruni, who was known to speak Arabic, Persian, Sanskrit, Hebrew, and Syriac. That is just one example. So having said that, we're circling back to the problem that are entrenched in the Muslim communities nowadays with regard to multilingualism. So there is the malaise of the Ummah, and there is also the linguistic malaise, more specific, and the distortion of the linguistic knowledge in our community, in the Muslim community as a whole. Okay, so in a paper by Prof. Mahmoud, actually, in his paper, 2014 paper on Islam's encounter with English and Ismail Al-Faruqi's concept of Islamic English, a post-colonial reading, it has been highlighted there, as so many times before we have heard, that English has been introduced in many Muslim societies by colonialism, and it has been perceived as a subject of power, as a vehicle of power, actually, as tool of having control over the Muslim world. So one of the quote that has caught my attention in this paper, actually, is the quote by a Kenyan writer, Ngugi wa Thiong'o, where it was said that the bullet was the means of their physical subjugation and language was the means of the spiritual subjugation, which means that through war, they would have the power to conquer a community physically, but to infiltrate the minds of this colonized community is through this critical and intrinsic values, especially, most importantly, through language. So what was intended by these colonizers is to create a concept, a theme where it has to be English in taste, in opinions, in morals, and in intellect, as a form of class, where they have set the standard where it could be followed, where if they want to be at par with the colonizers, to be at the same level, so to say. So this legacy, this colonialism legacy, has created a tension, because when this happens, nowadays, then English would be seen sometimes as something that is not welcomed in Islam, because of this difference or clash in cultures, where if you're English, then you have to speak, act like an English, but then the cultures of the Western and the Muslim world is not the same. So this tension has made in the English language itself seem as inhospitable, as not accommodating to Islam. So the central of this linguistic critique actually addresses the how the Islamic names and Islamic terms is being interpreted, being translated, being represented, where they are giving priority to stay loyal to the target language rather than the meanings of the source language, which in this case is Arabic, where Quranic terms are being translated, or even poetic literature materials being translated, like in Rumi's literary works being translated. They are going to translate to accommodate to the target language, which is English, rather than staying true to what is really meant by the writer in the original language, which is source language, which is Arabic. So this mismatch or distortion in linguistic application is seen as an intellectual and spiritual disaster, because it has caused loss of semantic associations and religious connotations. Because when they have translated to accommodate English or Western cultures rather than staying true to the Islamic roots or the Arabic original meaning, then how the meaning has how can the meaning be translated true to the intended meaning by the writer? One of the example of this phenomenon is the most popular one, actually, where they transliterate the word Makkah as Mecca, M-E-C-C-A, Mecca, which strips of the religious connotations of the word Makkah, because Mecca, M-E-C-C-A, is associated with club activities such as gambling, drinking, and other recreational pastimes. So Al-Faruqi has contested, has debated this cross-linguistic tendency and suggest that we have to accurately transliterate the words that are not translatable in other languages. Because I quote from the paper, from the 2014 paper, Al-Faruqi has said, many Arabic words are simply not translatable, and when Islamic meanings are altered, transformed, and transvalued through translation, it is an irreparable loss to Islam, to the Muslim, and to the human spirit, which is exactly what we are hoping to avoid. By the use of multilingualism, it should celebrate, it should spread the beauty of Islam, the meaning, the message that Islam brings, not to hamper down, not to dampen, not to eventually disregard what is originally meant in the language that the Islamic teaching has been propagated. So another real world conflicts, other than the translation, other than the semantic loss and distortion by the Western cultures, in a 2017 paper by Muhammad Adnan, he has conducted a 5-year study by doing an immersive study into an Islamic schools, in one of the Islamic schools in Malaysia. So the title of the paper is Being English Teachers in Malaysian Islamic Schools. So there is a form of resistance to learning English happening in this school, because they still view it as a Western language. So the students would prioritize Malay and Arabic over English. So this is something that showing how identity the identity of a community, of a nation, can be constructed, where, as we have said just now, the English is being seen as inhospitable to Islam. So this is the case, an actual case happening in some of the Islamic schools in Malaysia. And this is just, although not very recent, but 2017 is pretty recent, it's a modern days school in Malaysia. Still they have this view of this English language being as a Western language, so they refuse to learn the English language. And the teachers itself in the school, most of them viewed English as the language of entertainment, not as a language of equally knowledge propagation as other languages. So these are the challenges that multilingualism has been facing in the face of globalization. So in the efforts to getting back to putting back the Islamic values in all kinds of discipline, multilingualism is one of the discipline that is having this negative feedback from some communities that still perceiving that they're still having the certain stigma towards certain languages, in this case English, where they are being tied to westernization, and thus reducing the opportunities for the younger generations to move forward. So these challenges are not without merit, because as we have discussed earlier, the emergence of new age challenges, especially in the world of media, social media, and boundless internet, boundless connection among through all over the world. So the challenges, the new age challenges, such as the memes and the brain rots, which have no meanings and giving no specific directions in the development of language, this have given rise to this tension of and resistance towards embracing multilingualism in the face of knowledge seeking. So although these challenges are eminent in our community, it is still on us educators to shift this linguistic awareness and gain back the curiosity of the future generations, the energy of their curiosity. We have to shift the energy that they are focusing their curiosity on, rather than meaningless things, into something that matters again, instead of these empty, meaningless words and multilingual cultures that are not giving any benefits towards their future development. The solution that are proposed by Al-Faruqi to reclaim our linguistic integrity is actually through the introduction of Islamic English, which is a brand new English which is designed to carry Islamic proper nouns and meanings without distortion, just like how we transliterate Makkah into its true meaning rather than using Mecca. So that is just one example. And the key method is to incorporate whatever's that untranslatable, for instance, in Arabic Islamic theological terms like Salah, Zakah, Taqwa, and Hajj. We translate it verbatim. We don't translate it, we incorporate the word as it is into English, along with their definitions and connotations, which can minimize distortion and loss of meaning. This significant milestone to introduce Islamic English is to help changing this Islamic Arabic idioms into English, and enables it, I quote from the 2014 paper of Prof. Mahmoud, is to carry Islamic proper nouns and meanings without distortion, and thus to serve the linguistic needs of Muslim users of the English language. So this concept is actually being supported by the existence of multiple Englishes. Nowadays, there are not just Islamic Englishes, there are Indian English and even Manglish. Manglish is Malaysian English, which argues that Islamic culture needs its own variety to convey accurate semantic nuances of the words used. In practice nowadays, in multilingualism and in the Islamization of the knowledge of multilingualism itself, there has been an effort to put it into practice, where the concept of the Ummah and the Urfic being discussed in the 2025 paper of BAT, the social linguistics in Islam, where it is said that Islamic discourse exists on a spectrum between ummatic, which is the standardized, the rooted discourse in classical Arabic, and the urfic, which is the localized or the vernacular discourse. So the practices that reflects this negotiation between the ummah and the urfic is in religious settings, where Imams usually code switch between English and Arabic in sermons, in khutbah, to reinforce religious authorities and to maintain the authenticity, and also to accommodate diverse audiences. And in another setting, in education and literacy, there are the use of local scripts, like in Indonesia and China, Pegon in Indonesia, or Xiaojing in China, where they made it a point to phonetically represent Arabic and Persian texts to demonstrate the essence of Islam, while maintaining links to the Arabic scriptural script, while maintaining to the Arabic script. While the principles in language teaching, in aligning to the Islamization of knowledge, it is suggested by a paper, which is a very interesting paper actually. This article by Milal and Swasono in 2023 has revealed the point of linguistic studies and that of language teaching, which are relevant to Islamic values. So in this study by Milal and Swasono, it is suggested that linguistic notions should align with Islamic values, as it naturally should. So the points that were highlighted by this paper is to adhere to the maxim of quality, which is truthfulness, the linguistic adherence to this maxim of quality, which should be in line with the Islamic teaching, where believers should speak always the truth, as said in the Quran in Surah Al-Ahzab, verse 70. As a summary from the points that I have been presenting, through the lens of Islamization of knowledge, it is seen that multilingualism in Islam is endorsed Islamically, theologically, religiously endorsed, but it has to be we have to have a strategy to manage it, to prevent this spiritual control which resulted from the linguistic hegemony by the previous colonizers of the Muslim world. Following this, the scholars of Islamization of knowledge has offered clear solutions, where Ismail al-Faruqi proposed the Islamic English to address the semantic integrity, and the framework of Urfic versus Ummatic, as discussed in Bart et al., where this is to understand the diverse cultural and linguistic adaptations that can drive and thrive the multilingualism in Islam. So I guess to wrap, I would reiterate that the tension between these global languages and Islamic linguistic heritage is going to be a continuous negotiation. There will always be something that we have to put into effort to battle whatever is controlling the thoughts of Muslim scholars. And the Islamization of Knowledge project would ensure these Islamic values would become the source of inspiration for scientific and intellectual advancements, rather than just using science to justify religious truths. So for me personally, this has to go beyond classroom walls. It has to reach to the ones that matters, which are the people. So let us take back the conquerors' propaganda, the colonizers' controlling power of infiltrating mass minds, and we take that power back to rewrite history. Beyond that, let's answer the calling of Murabbi, as we have previously discussed, because in our hands are the future of the world, and we are shaping their akhlaq, and we are a walking example to the future generations. So may these walls of garden and knowledge and virtue be our starting points, our battleground to fight, and may all these fighting spirits would trickle down again, following this trend of future generations, and would give rise to an awakened generation who would think beyond memes. And of course, let's go from the perspective of multilingualism. Let's go beyond dahmakan or kaifa hal, and we champion multilingualism as a disciplinary, as a vessel towards the unity of life and knowledge, towards the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so with that, my friends, ladies and gentlemen, I leave you with some questions. Where in a world of many languages, which truth are we speaking? And are our languages serving knowledge, or are we merely serving the world? With that, Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.